Thank you, Dr. Chona, and good afternoon. I come from the partner side of things, and middle of education is a little unnerving for me to sit here. But on that note, I'll tell you a small story. It's a Mullah Nasruddin story. So Mullah was sitting in front of a basket full of these red, chirpy, finger-sized fruits, and he was eating them. While he was eating, the tears were streaming down his cheeks, and he kept on eating. Suddenly, one of his friends passes by and looks at Mullah. My God, Mullah, what are you eating? These are red Indian chilies, and you will die if you eat the whole basket. Mullah looks at him, thinks for a while, and continues to eat. Again, the tears. He said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I have paid a lot of money for it. I must eat it now." Now, the simile is for partnerships in schools, where some of the partnerships do end up that way. And just to give you a context, and we are today in 400 schools helping over 300,000 children getting healthier and fitter. And I thought I can take you through this journey of our 5-6 year journey of how we ended up as a partner, and some of my colleagues over here can testify against or for it later. But I think, and I would also like to bring out 2-3 points that we have discovered along this journey. Now, life is good today, and I think seems good. I'm here talking to you, but it wasn't so good 5 years, 6 years back. I would travel to Delhi, stay here for 1 or 2 weeks' time, and I think if I aggregate the time I spent waiting to meet some of my fellow colleagues here in their receptions and corridors, far outweighs the time I actually spent interacting with them after we got meetings. So, a little bit of in the jest on the side, but few things I would like to just emphasize here, that the assumptions we had on how schools can leverage partnerships and grow, make an impact, schools of future and everything else, I think we had to reorder the arrangement a little bit. I may be a little bit on the line over here, but I must say that. And this is discovery for us, right? So, and I think we had this interesting session on investors' view just a while before, and this took this up there. So the first thing which I would like to mention that we discovered, or how schools work, the economics and the sustainability, as they call it in not-for-profit world, and that drives how a school runs. And the drive is, and in fact, when I'm from corporate background, and when I came into the education sector, I thought, finances are pretty much available and everybody runs. But then I realized the sharpness on finances, on the economics is so high in education sector, and as high as maybe the corporate world in how they deal with that. And if you are getting into a partnership, now, getting children to play, how hard can it be, right? And why would one pay for that? Children play, they just play and grow up. And why would you get a partner and do something different in your school? And especially if economics are concerned or sustainability is concerned, why would you even part with the budgets, which already stretched budgets with the, so I mean, that's a thought, which is a first thought, which, and we had to find an answer for that, not because it was a business plan, but because our objective was to get children to play, and we can't talk to children. We talk to schools, we talk to school leaders, we talk to parents, we can't talk to children. And children are the only people who can, and that's where who's a product, who's a user, and who's a customer. I think some interesting discussion on that. But that was the first hurdle for us to cross, and this is an important aspect of all partners working in all educationists who are leveraging partnerships, and how do we deal with this whole issue. The second, and I think that's about the perceptions, and that's also about what I call is the education system in India and globally, in fact. The education system is designed for the university entry criteria, which means everybody who graduates from school needs to get into a college with certain entry criteria, whether IIT or bachelor's or arts and science college, it doesn't matter, right? Which means the whole thing is designed for that, so much so the parents are driven to ensure the schools provide that kind of education which allows them to get into colleges, right? Now, getting children to play arts, science, arts, music, sports, pretty much children do that until 6th, 7th, 8th. By 9th, they are taken off, and we take them off as parents and society, and they are then working to fulfill the entry criteria of the universities, right? So I think that's a flaw in the whole idea, but how, if I'm a game changer, and game changer, by the way, is a definition for somebody like us who doesn't make money when you start, but over time, once it starts to become a business, so I think it requires a game-changing thought from the school leaders and people who I think worked with us, and I thought they were game changers. They were able to advocate something interesting to the parents and change their view in terms of that getting children to play is as important as perhaps reading, counting, and everything else that schools and parents do. The last part, which is of this 3 points that I want to make, is on the how children learn, right? And I think I would leave it to experts who are anyway speaking about how children learn. But Pramod spoke about something like this. And Pramod, by the way, runs a very fine school called Greenwood High, and he doesn't know that yet. But my child goes to his school. I'm in fact a customer of his. One day in Pramod's school, there was this presentation going on. The principal was giving a presentation on the new IGCSE campus that they were building. And he spoke of something called lazy classrooms, which means if a child doesn't like to be in the normal classroom or is sick of being in the classroom, he could walk and do nothing in the lazy classroom. My son was sitting next to me. He's a 4th grader. All of a sudden, I see a very long, mischievous smile on his face and says, I want to go to that school. Now, at least one school has got it right. The whole idea of leaving children alone, I think, is a far better idea of educating them than bringing all kinds of things around. So I feel the whole idea of education, providing a context and then getting away. Now, play does that beautifully. You provide a context, you get something going, and children play. And what they learn, how they learn, that's something which is, now we do this, when we do a class, we have this idle time measurement. No child should be idle more than 5 minutes when they are in the class. And then we make a report of it, then we do assessment, 10-point check, then we do learning outcome coverage. All that child doesn't care. They don't want to be fit. They don't want to do anything. They just want to play. In fact, my school time, the only thing I remember is going to school to play. I don't remember classrooms. I don't remember science, maths, nothing. Right? I only remember play. I remember NCC and some other stuff around that because there was a fellowship with the students I would play with. So to me, that's an important aspect of how we take learning. Now, I remember a class which was run, and I would stop after that. One of our teachers, or our physical education teachers, were running it. I happened to come out of the principal room, and I sat down on the grass where he was running a class. He was on all fours, and there were 3 children, 1st graders, on his back, and others were clapping around. And he was horsing around, and children were about to fall. They were balancing on top, and everybody was smiling, giggling, and then other 3 would come on top. They didn't notice me, and so much so that after some time, it was lost completely who was the teacher and who were the students. They were just one whole thing playing together. And to come to think, and I thought when I walked away, that was magic, that was education. Now, what can I convince a parent with that some learning happened here? What did they learn? I don't know. Some learning was happening, and to me, that learning is, I find, the most powerful learning because that will prepare you for the future which is unknown. Nobody knows tomorrow IT or anything else. We know it will be uncertain. And that learning, to me, is what play can create, play can do. So if I were to ask a question here to the panel and to everybody, can we flip these 3 things I mentioned? Number 1, how learning happens. Number 2, parent advocacy. Number 3, economics and the sustainability of that. In that order, all 3 are important, but if we did that, I think we would have far better and effective system. The question is, would we? Thank you.